now. Yep.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll start this meeting. It's 7:02 on February 10th, 2022. And this is our regular scheduled Library Board of Trustees meeting. And welcome, everybody. And we'll have introductions soon. And again, per the government code in the LA County, we're still just meeting virtually, and all the staff is safe in their staff areas, and we are meeting virtually, and the public can join us through Zoom also. On all of that has been publicized, how the public can join us in our meeting. So we'll start our meeting, and if we could have roll call, please, Sean.
Sure. Bianca Richards.
Present.
Kenneth Gross.
Here.
FJ Pratt.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, well, so we have, and just again, two more trustees, Annie Chang Long and Dean Serwin, will be joining us throughout the evening. And then our council liaison, Diana Mahmood, is with us, and also our the Friends of the Library liaison, Sally Kilby, is joining us, and later on, Ellen Torres may be joining us also. She's the president of the Friends of the Library. And then, of course, our staff present is Kathy Billings, Library Director, and then Sean Fay, Administrative Secretary.
And Maida.
Oh, and I'm sorry, yeah. And Maida, your mask is off. There, I didn't recognize you. And Maida Wong is here, who will be doing a presentation later on, and she's library staff also. Are there any presentations?
No.
And any public comments?
None.
Okay, so we'll move on. So at this time, I'd like to do, if we could do an introduction of the new trustees. We have two new trustees, Kenneth Gross and F.J. Pratt.
Mhm.
And then when they're done introducing themselves, then am I the only other trustee? Then I guess I will do a brief introduction, and then Sally, maybe you could then do a brief introduction also. All right, so welcome, Kenneth. If you want to just give us a brief introduction of kind of who you are, and I guess why you're wanting to be on the Board of Trustees, and what you bring,
sure.
and what you bring to us.
Okay, I'm not sure what I bring to you yet. We'll all reserve judgment on that, but I'm glad to be a part of this and looking forward to it. I'm joining you from Philadelphia tonight, where I'm visiting my mother for a few days. And I applied to join the Board of Trustees at the suggestion or prompting or nudging of Sally. And I'm glad that I was selected, and looking forward to it. I serve on a couple other boards. The board of my building where my office is downtown, Eastern Columbia. Actually, it's a residential building, but it's a live work. So I have my law office there. So I've been on the board. It's a 150 unit building, and we manage a budget of usually millions of dollars. And so there's a lot of some experience on boards and management of funds, and being a bit of a steward. I'm on the board of the Fremont Center Theater in South Pass. I was on the board of a group called Young Shakespeareans, which brings Shakespeare to kids in the inner city. I'm not on that board anymore, just don't have time for everything. I was president of Temple Beth David in Temple City for 7 years. And just always looking forward as I get older to kind of share my time and develop other interests. And I've always loved the library. Haven't spent enough time there lately. And I was telling you when we met earlier in the week that I really enjoyed the Friends of the Library programs when there were speakers in the community room, and I miss that so much, and hope we can get back to that soon.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome. And
Thank you.
It sounds like you've got a lot of experience, so hopefully we can tap you for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
FJ. welcome. And if you can give us a brief introduction and who
Sure.
you are and why you'd like to be part of us.
Sure. My name is FJ Pratt. I've lived in South Pass for 23 years. My wife taught at Marengo, first grade teacher for about a dozen years. And I was a TV writer for 30 years. I recently retired. And for the past, since 2015, I've been teaching a couple of classes at USC in the Cinematic Arts Department. I was tapped on the shoulder by our mayor, Michael Cacciati. He said, I think he'd be good for the library board. And I do love our library. Like you were saying, Ken, the Friends program was great. I miss those in-person programs. And and also I've been a leader of the Boy Scout Troop 7 in South Pasadena. And the reason I'm mentioning that, because one, I'm proud of our troop. Two, I had a pinched nerve in my back. So at some point I have to I'll get off camera and I got to stand up because I'm still in physical therapy. So this chair is not comfortable, but I'm here and I'm very excited to meet you all and to be part of this.
Well, welcome and thank you, FJ. And I think Annie has joined us. Is that correct on the phone?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll be on video in like 30 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone.
Annie, we just thought we would just do quick introductions. So if you'd like to just introduce yourself to the two new members.
Yeah, sure. My name is Annie Ching Long. I am a resident here for the last 5 years. I have 3 kids, 2 of them at Marengo right now, 1 of them in preschool, and we all love the library and the programming and just really have enjoyed being on this board for the past 2 years and kind of bring a parent's perspective to everything. Professionally, I work at a community development financial institution. It's a nonprofit that does lending to other nonprofits and financial consulting. So just really excited to continue the conversation here. Look forward to meeting new board members.
Thank you, Annie. And then I'll just introduce myself really quick. Again, I'm Bianca Richards, and I've lived in South Pasadena my entire life. I was born here. My family settled here in like 1950. Just quickly, my sisters had Buster's ice cream coffee shop, and my parents had family fare.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm that
Wow.
Richards family.
Yeah.
My husband and I are both retired from Pasadena City College. He's an English professor and a writer. He's the poet laureate of South Pasadena, Ron Kirchie. We live right across the street from the library, so I think I have the eyes for the library. I love the library. As a child, that was the one place that my parents would let us go unattended, to the library. So I grew up at the library, loving the library, reading it. And I just, like at Pasadena City College, I really think a community college and a library are a real democracy. So I'm just very, I just love that ingrained kind of philosophy about libraries. And this is, I'm going on my third year, my 4th year, I can't remember, of being on the board of trustees. My 4th year. Thank you, Diana. So I'm happy to be here, and I feel like I bring a little bit of continuity because I have been here now the longest board member. So again, welcome. And Sally, you want to do a brief introduction?
Briefly, yes, Sally Kilby, and I'm with the Friends of the South Pasadena Public Library, a 72-year-old organization that supports the library. Our goals are to raise awareness of the library and raise funds for the library. We do that through membership, through an iconic bookstore upstairs in the library, through donations, through memorial gifts. And we also put on a wonderful concert series that is very popular in the city. And we try to make, cover a lot of the budget items that the city cannot pay for. And we are in the middle of buying a large item, a laptop kiosk dispenser that we're working with Kathy on. We're also part of an effort to try to raise significant funds for significant library upgrades. And that's a committee we have called the 21st Century. And that's right now on hiatus. And we're waiting for the city strategic plan to become implemented as far as the library. And also Kathy will be starting the library strategic plan. And it's a whole new board year. We have a couple of new people. And I'm in charge of communications this year, and Ellen Torres is the president.
Great. Thank you, Sally. Do we, Kathy, should we do all introductions, you, Sean, Maida, and Diana, or do we want to wait, or how?
I think we can, I don't know that Diana needs an introduction because I think everybody
Right.
knows her because she's a
Right.
council
Okay.
member. And Maida can introduce herself when she does her item. And I've already introduced myself to FJ and Kenny.
Okay.
Oh, Kathy, I think you overstate the extent to which our residents might be familiar with members of city council. So I will just say that I have lived in South Pasadena now for over 33 years, and I was a working mom for most of that time. And my first interaction with the city, having children, was through the library. And I think that is probably true for most residents. So I am particularly interested in making sure that our library continues its fine service in providing such value to our residents and especially families.
Thank you. And then one thing that I always say, this library board of trustees, we're extremely fortunate that we have the staff members of the library that are just wonderful. Under, Kathy Billings as director, she has a wonderful agenda, very good notes and reports that she brings. And then of course, Sean Fay does the best minutes. We are extremely lucky. And then it's been wonderful that we have Diana Mahmood as our council liaison. And it's just great that we have our commission, and then we have additional staff like Maida tonight, and then also the Friends of the Library always joins us. So we have a really, this is a very good commission trustees meeting. So thank you, everybody, and welcome. And I hope you all got the packet. Again, the packets are always very thorough, and that you got a chance to kind of review the minutes. So let's move on to our action item number 4. If you guys had a chance to review the minutes, and if I could have a motion to recommend the minutes.
Do we need Dean for this? Because I don't
Well,
believe.
Annie, don't we have a quorum? Oh, no, we don't have a quorum, do we?
I don't
We
think
do.
of. Okay.
We do.
Yeah.
There's
we
3 of
do.
us.
Oh, we do.
You're
There's
good.
4. There's
Yeah.
4 of us. Annie,
Four.
yeah, that's right.
And it's-
Annie's here. Annie's here.
Yeah.
Ken's here. FJ's here. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can approve of the minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, and I'll second the minutes. So it's been approved and second that the minutes of the regular meeting of January 13th have been approved. So thank you, Annie.
I think we have to do a roll call, Bianca.
Oh, that's right. I always forget. Roll call, please, Sean.
Well, and Bianca, let me just add that for our 2 new board members, I know some members abstained when they were not present, but I have been advised that it is fine to go ahead and vote in the affirmative and approving the minutes unless you have some reason to think that the minutes are not correctly prepared.
Right.
And I neglected, are there any changes, additions, edits, any questions or concerns about the minutes of January? I forgot to, because I know Annie and I would have been at the meeting. Okay, hearing no changes, then we'll go ahead and recommend to approve of the meetings. And now can we have roll call?
Bianca Richards,
Yes.
Annie Chang Long,
Present.
Kenneth Gross,
Yes.
FJ Pratt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then moving on.
Annie, did you mean to say yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then moving on to item number 5. This is, I think, where Maida is going to be presenting item number 5. Is that correct?
That's correct. I asked Maida to come tonight to talk to us a little bit about the programming that's in place for 2022 and kind of the approach that her team took. So I'm going to turn it over to her. In your packet is a list of the programs that we do have on the books for 2022. So if you want to look at that and follow along, you're welcome to do that. But Maida, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
And Maida, could you do just a brief little introduction of who you are also?
Sure, thank you. I'm Maida Wong, and I am the Public Services Manager here at the library. I've been here 34 years. So most of those were in children's, but now I'm overseeing both the adult services and the children's services as a Public Services Manager. Kathy asked me to talk to you a little bit about programming, so I'm kind of glad that the two new board members have an interest in the programming. To give you a little bit of background, kind of where we've come from, we're currently focusing on rebalancing our efforts to catch up on years of projects and processes that to provide modern library services. In the past, there was a lot of energy focused on programming. And so we had some really fabulous, big programs, bigger than most small public libraries would have. So when that happened, there wasn't so much energy focused on the operations. And so now we're catching up on that, and we're doing things like making sure we have a web page that has our resources listed and keep that up to date. And we're really focusing on collection development and kind of getting the core of our collections all up to date. And we're making sure that we have new online resources that are available, so people, even if they're at home, they can access information. So a lot of those things are happening now, and that means that our programs have been scaled to what we can do now with our current staffing, and they're scaled for a small public library. So we've had to make some adjustments for the LA County Department of Public Health guidelines. There have been a lot of different changes with the pandemic. So that's happened, and we've been constantly pivoting it and trying to, do we do in-person services? Do we, are we doing, story times? We're not doing story times, and we're adjusting for that constantly. And then the other piece of the background is that we've newly posted our diversity, equity, and inclusion webpage. And so we're trying to really focus on making sure that we, I guess, decide on programs that are inclusive. So the process that we have for developing our program list is we got all the staff together. They've been thinking about this for months and months, and people are constantly sending us their ideas and soliciting us and saying that they'd be willing to do this or that program. So we take all of that information, and then our staff got together, the public services staff, and we had a few discussions in the fall. And what we were doing is we were looking at the timing of the programs. So what we wanted to do is spread them out throughout the year, and not put everything in one month, so that it would be manageable for our staff, because they have lots of other job duties to address. We had to consider offering a variety of programs that would be for adult and also for teens and also for children. We have to think about the space, because there's those guidelines from the County Department of Public Health. Can we do it inside? Can we do it outside? Is it going to be in the library community room? And if it's in the community room, what else is happening? Because sometimes we have outside groups, or we have the friends groups doing concerts, and we have the Red Cross blood drives, and there's going to be voting coming up. So all of these things have to be taken into account. We consider our continuing events. So if there's been some past events and some history, we think about does the programming that we are planning fit in with that. So we're looking at Eclectic Music Festival. We've had some Pride Month programs. Ray Bradbury's birthday comes up in August. We've been doing a teen book club. We've been doing National Poetry Month celebrations. We have teen advisory board meetings. We started a scary story contest, and we've had some story time. So there's a lot of programs that we've had before. And then we balance that with, well, what new programs do we want to offer? So then we're thinking about, oh, in this next year, we're going to do coffee tasting. And we've got a memory lab program coming up, and we've got a free comic book giveaway day, and we're going to do a library open house. And we're thinking about doing a Newberry book club program and craft lab. So all these new programs, and we have to kind of balance that all out with what we've offered and what we can manage. And then there's some partnership events, and we try to work with the community when there's some different things, like the job fair we did with the Chamber of Commerce, and the California Young Reader Medal we do with the schools, and the arts crawls, Eclectic Music Festivals coming up. So we are working around those folding those into our programming schedule. And then the other considerations are just logistical things that, which staff is available to oversee these programs. Somebody's got to do all the publicity. Somebody's got to write up the contracts and make sure the insurance is all done, and all of those kinds of things. So those are some of the considerations that we take into account when we're doing the process. And in your packet, you'll see a list of some of the things that we've come up with for this coming year. Well, this one is actually the next couple months. So in March, we're going to have a Will Eisner Week program. Will Eisner is a graphic artist, and so we're going to have an online program with that. We're going to do the open house, and these are for adults. We're going to have the Eclectic Music Festival, that's for all ages, and the comic book day. In June, we're going to have Hazel Newlevant, who is an author that we're highlighting for Pride Month, and she's going to do a virtual author visit. We have our memory lab program that we got a grant for, so we're going to be doing those in the summertime. And then for the adults, we work up to our One City, One Story event, which is a kind of a multi-month plan. There's a lot of events that are involved with that, and we try to engage the community in voting for the books that we want to read and discuss, and we have a couple of book discussions and related events. And then again in December, we'll have the coffee tasting. For the teens, we have our teen book club. We have a teen advisory board who meets every month pretty much in the fall and the winter. I mean, the fall and the spring. And then for the kids, we are going to start craft lab at some point. We're going to put that out. We've been doing a take and make, but now we're going to do a craft lab where people can drop in once we're able to have in-person programming. We've got a bookmark contest going, and you can see we have story times 3 times a week. Summer reading programs are big push, and that's coming up. All of that planning starts in October and for the next summer. There's the Newberry book club that we're thinking about launching. That's a new one. And then the Friends have got their crafting, and we've got all of the other programs that are happening around, like the Red Cross blood drive and the volunteer recognition event. So there's a lot of different pieces that are moving, and we try to kind of meld them all together. But that's sort of an overview of how we decide on our programming. And I don't know if anybody had any questions.
So that was very thorough. Thank you. Very detailed. It's amazing how much logistics goes into this. So thank you. That was.
Councilmember Mahmood has a comment.
Thank you. I do have a question, and that is, Maida, I know that as a children's librarian, you used to work with the Animal Commission in sponsoring the Be Kind to Animals Week, which was always during the first week of May. Are you planning on doing anything? We're having our special council meeting to consider commissions. I believe it's February 23rd. And I'm not sure whether or not the Animal Commission will be reinstated, but there was some thought that because that is a cherished program where the children really enjoyed preparing the posters and then getting to take their photo with the mayor. Has there been any discussion of handling that as a city department between, say, community services and the library?
So we haven't decided on that. We were very well aware that the Animal Commission, there's a little bit of a pause on that. And so we were not sure of what direction that was going to go. And so that was always a liaison program. We worked with that Animal Commission, and for decades we did that program. We certainly can look into working with the community services, or it's also something that could possibly be done through the library. That program was, the planning for that always started around February. And then what would happen is the publicity would go out in February. We did this for years. The children would be submitting their artwork in March, and then the Animal Commission would be organizing them and putting them up on the boards and doing all of that. So if we didn't have the Animal Commission, who took a large responsibility for all of that, it would fall onto the library staff. And then May is when the program would be. And that's kind of, all of that planning happens, and all of that execution is happening right at the time that we are trying to get ready for summer reading program, which is one of our biggest pushes. And so it was always, I think it will be a challenge to take the whole thing on ourselves, because we know that the Animal Commission did a lot of the publicity and helped us quite a bit. But it's not, there's certainly, there's a possibility to think about how else to do it in another way that might, we could scale it again to be something that would be possible to do with the staff that we have.
I agree it would be challenging for library staff. We have some residents who have been engaged, whether or not they were members of the Animal Commission, for years and years. And my thought would be that perhaps community services could step in with some part-time assistance, plus requesting assistance from those longtime volunteers like Beverly Bieber, who has done this year after year after year, even though she has not been on the Animal Commission for some years. But I think that you would have a strong interest in participating from some members of the community if we could find a way to sponsor it and make it happen. Otherwise, I'm concerned there's going to be significant disappointment, not only among the past volunteers, so I hope would continue to volunteer, but also the children that participated in it in the past. They really were very excited. As you know, we had to move it from council chambers to the community room because we were violating our fire code standards by having too many people attend. It really is very popular. So I will take this up with our city manager then and see what I can do. But I know you also participated, and I'm hoping that we can throw something together, even if in a more simplified format for this year, just so as not to lose sight. But certainly it was not my intention to suggest that library would take this on its own, because I know how much time goes into it. It's too much.
Well, thank you. We will definitely wait to hear from you and the city manager, and yes, we'll see how this can work. It may have to be a little bit different because of the having groups of children together, but by May, maybe some things will have changed.
Any other questions or comments from Maida? All right, thank you, Maida, and hearing none, that was very good, so thank you. And I'm sure we all made notes of Diana's comments. That was very good. Thank you, Diana. That was good discussion. Okay, moving on to action item number 6, the Board of Trustees agenda forecast. And you would have all gotten that in your packet, item number 6. And this is something that I had noticed that other commissions and the city does, that they kind of put a working calendar together. So Kathy and Sean and I kind of came up with this. So this is something that we just know that we just sort of move through our work plan for the Library Board of Trustees. Kathy, did you want to add anything to that, or?
Yeah, I wanted to just bring to your attention, so there's the 2 columns. One is sort of the standing items that happen every year, and then in the far right column there are things that are scheduled for 2022. So the thing I wanted to mostly bring to your attention is that in March, at that time, we'll be talking about the applicants that have submitted their proposals for strategic planning. So that will happen in March. We'll have that conversation. And then in April, at that time, we'll be coming to you to ask you to give us direction about how we want to renew the parcel tax, what terms. And so you'll give direction that we will then go to City Council, and they will look at your recommendation, and they will give direction as to how the parcel tax renewal terms should be presented on the ballot. So those are the 2 big things this spring that I just wanted you to be aware of, both of those. And then adopting the strategic plan probably will happen I would think in July, based on the current timeline that we have sketched out for the strategic planning process.
Right. And then the other, and then also in March next month, we'll have the nominating committee slate for the Board of Trustees, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have to nominate and select officers by March.
Right.
Does anyone have questions about this? Any questions or concerns about what you're seeing?
I just have a question about the parcel tax. Do we have a hand in drafting the initiative or whatever appears on the ballot, or what is our role in that? We talk about recommendations or suggestions.
I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end of the meeting in my director's comments about the role of trustees in terms of the parcel tax renewal, but really the main role of trustees is an educational role. So you're, helping people understand what it is that the library does. You're not allowed to be an advocate and do any kind of advocacy related to the parcel tax. And that's the same for staff, where we have to focus on education and not advocacy. And as far as who drafts so for example, one of the recommendations you'll be looking at is whether we should make the parcel tax. The parcel tax has always been renewed every 5 years or so. And we're thinking of, instead of renewing it for an additional 5 years, making it in perpetuity unless voters repeal it. So that's something that you guys will think about and make your recommendation as to how we should do that. And maybe there are changes you want to make to, right now the parcel tax amount is increased by the consumer price index every year. So you may have thoughts about that. So that's what we'll be talking about in April, in terms of what exactly the measure is going to look like. But then the city attorney kind of drafts the municipal code and drafts the ballot measure.
Related to that, Kathy, I was going to ask, if we're discussing it in April, are you preparing some kind of analysis on what those options are, or like what we're going to be discussing? Is that what?
Yes, we'll do that. I need to work with the city manager and the city attorney to do that.
Yeah, and then that just kind of follows into item number 7, because my question is can we as trustees be a part of the committee?
Here's what I found out.
Yeah.
The city clerk checked. Well, first of all, I looked back at, Sean helped me to dig up minutes from the 2015, 2016 renewal. And at that time, the city attorney warned of a possible perception of conflict of interest with more than 2 trustees serving on the committee, saying it would be better if none are members. But because at that time there were going to be 3, there were 3 trustees who had said that I'm going to be on the committee. So the city attorney suggested none be members, but in fact 2 did serve on the committee regardless. So I reached out to the current city attorney to ask for clarification about whether they would recommend the same recommendation as had been recommended in 2015, or whether they had other thoughts, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. So I need to follow up with him and see if he has anything else to advise us in that regard. And then the city clerk for us reached out to the FPPC with some of the specific questions that Dean had. Dean had a question about, can they serve as a principal officer of the committee? And the FPPC said yes, unless the municipality states otherwise. Dean wanted to know if they can sign forms for the committee for the FPPC. And they said yes, unless the municipality states otherwise. Hold a position where they sign checks. The FPPC said that's not advisable. And lastly, there was a question from Dean about authoring the position statement for the ballot, and that they advised the city clerk to reach out to the Secretary of State, and the city clerk is waiting to hear back from the Secretary of State. So I think that our city attorney can give us some good advice once I'm able to pin him down. But like I said, in 2015, the recommendation was that no trustees be members, but in fact 2 went ahead and served. So my guess is perhaps we can do the same thing this time. But I would like to get the city attorney to weigh in.
But so let me.
And I think in any event, you couldn't have more than 2,
Right,
because
right.
then all of the meetings would have to be noticed pursuant to the Brown Act.
Right.
But Diane and everybody, we could volunteer, but not necessarily be on the committee. And then, but when we're volunteering, we would just have to be aware if any other of us from the trustees is there, we just shouldn't.
Right, at a formal meeting, sure.
Because there's a lot of volunteer work that goes with the, Sally, you and I have done a lot of these past, events, and there's a lot of volunteering that needs to get done.
And it depends on the type of event. If it's an event that isn't publicly noticed, where it's not advertised as a community event, everyone is welcome, please attend.
Yeah.
In that instance, there's no problem having more than 2. But if it is a meeting of the committee that only, the notice of which only goes to the members of the committee, then you definitely don't want to have more than 2 trustees present.
All right, well, it sounds like that we'll probably get more clarification in the future meetings. So from now, I think we know what we can and cannot do for right now. So
Yeah, and I think the last time, the last renewal cycle, my understanding from looking at the timeline that had been prepared at that time is that the city clerk actually spoke to the trustees about this and about what their role is. So we can try to see if that's something we can do again. But I think for sure we need to get our city attorney to advise us, and I can share that with you outside of the meeting. I can send it via email once I get that information from him.
so maybe I won't be able to hang that big banner on my house anymore. I still
Well,
have.
again, I mean, I think as an individual, you can do, you can do that, but you may not
You're
be
good.
listed as a
good.
member of the committee.
Right.
You're a
You
volunteer.
still have your
You-
First Amendment rights, Bianca.
And I think I still have the banner in my garage. We would just have to update it a little bit, but I think the banner is still in my garage, so.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So moving on to number 8, the city strategic plan. Kathy?
Yeah, so what I did, the strategic plan is available on the city's website, and if I didn't send you the link to that, I will do so. But I looked through it to try to pull out sort of the items that I think have the most relevance to the library. The only item in the strategic plan that literally lists the library as one of the responsible departments is the parcel tax item. Otherwise, we're not listed as a responsible department for any of the items. So I tried to pull out the items that I thought had the most relevance for what we do here in library services. And I do encourage you to look at the whole strategic plan so that you know what direction council is taking and what things are important to the council over the next 5 years. But I thought that as an exercise today, we could kind of look through these items together. Normally by this time of the year, we would have a work plan for the commission or the board in this case. It sounds to me like there's a movement toward changing the work plan and annual reporting cycle from calendar year to fiscal year. So normally we would have a work plan for not normally, but I would say over the last several years, at least since I've been here, the work plan would be January through December. And then in December, we would write they would draft an annual report about the work that the board had done during the year. I think we're going to be switching to fiscal year. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do a work plan that's just for a couple of months, probably. Diana's nodding. So, so that means I'm on track. So I think that the idea is when we do put a work plan together, we want to make sure that it's tied to these strategic goals that the city council has defined. So I thought we might look through these today just to sort of see what they are, or if you've looked at them already and you have questions. But I think that because we don't necessarily have to have a work plan put together immediately, that we don't have to necessarily go through these at length today, but I did want you to kind of take a look and see which things are important to the council and how they might relate to the library. Did you guys look at this and do you have any questions?
I had one comment, because I'm always thinking, I always like to think of the bigger picture and capital improvement and facilities and how the library can play in very solid with the city. And I was on number 3, the development of a comprehensive emergency preparation plan. I was thinking, how could maybe the library be physically more a part of that? I mean, the Red Cross likes to use the community room, but I was thinking maybe we could think of a way that we could make the library, because we always talk about the library as the center of the city, it's kind of the hub, and how we could make it more accessible in an emergency. So we've got the space, but we do need to upgrade the space, like better bathrooms, better, heating and lighting and air. But I was just thinking of kind of the big picture and how maybe how the library could maybe relate to something like that.
Yeah.
Those were my comments.
Yeah, and that's why I have that on here, is because exactly that kind of thinking, how does that goal relate back to the library? And if that's the case, that we're looking at what role does the library play beyond just being a Red Cross shelter site? What do we need to do? So maybe that's part of a work plan, is to look at what could the library be doing that we're not. And I think all of these are similar to that. Bringing forward a comprehensive capital improvement plan, and they also, it includes doing a facilities assessment. So that's going to be really important to have the library be part of that facilities assessment. So there's a couple of things in here like that I think are really clearly connected to the library. And it should be pretty straightforward for us to think about how we relate to these goals.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I would say the other thing, under enhanced customer service through innovation to more effectively respond to community priorities, updating policies. That's one of the main roles of this board, is to set library administrative policy. And many of our policies are very out of date. And it's been on our work plan for a couple of years now to be working slowly through those policies to review them and amend them as necessary. So I think for sure our work plan, or your work plan, will include, again, this year, policy review and updating. So I think we tie in there for sure. And then this idea of centralized operations, we're applying for more grants. I think it seems we've applied for one, and we're going to apply for another. Well, Olivia's applied for several. Excuse me. And the city now in management services has an analyst that's going to be working on grants and working on centralizing some of the processes and procedures, which will be a big help to us. So I don't know if that translates into any kind of work plan activity, but it is something where the library has a connection to that particular goal. And of course, the review of boards and commissions, which Diana mentioned, is happening. There will be a special study session with the City Council on February 23rd, but I don't anticipate that there will be any changes or modifications at all to the Board of Trustees, because as I mentioned to Kenny when we met, we're a little bit different. Our setup is dictated by state law. So there has to be a library board of trustees. It's required by state law for that to be the case. So I think that our board will just keep working as we do. They shouldn't be impacted by the study. So that's really all. Unless people have comments about this or questions, I just sort of wanted to give you a sense of the places where I thought that the strategic plan that the council has adopted ties back to the library and library services. And we can think more about it when we actually do a work plan for the fiscal year.
Kathy?
Yeah.
What about improving technology? Is there any chance that IT master plan could help you?
Yeah, that's why I have this on the list, is because for sure we would want the IT master plan to include library IT things like RFID, which is radio frequency identification, which is a big overhaul of the way that we manage materials in the library in terms of collection management, inventory, and theft. So yeah, we would definitely, again, want to make sure our aims are taken into account under that item. So that's why I included that here as well.
Yeah. I went to the CIP meetings, and I was really discouraged because with so many overwhelming projects that the city has with infrastructure, I mean, unless we set a bomb and blow up the place, I don't think our library is going to really get anything. There's just too much to be dealt with by the city with so little resources.
I think that I'm still hopeful that because the state library, and I'll talk more about this, the folks that are new, during my comments, I'll give you a little bit of an update about the Building Forward grant for infrastructure from the state library. It's really a once in a lifetime opportunity. The state has made that $439 million available to libraries. So I hope that the city will think about taking advantage of that. It's a one-to-one match. I know there's not a lot of money to go around and there's not a lot of spare money for sure, but it is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a substantial amount of money if we can match it. So we'll see. And I will talk about that a little bit at the end of the meeting.
A question about that and just overall about grants. About the grants, can we apply for grants independent of the city, or do we have to go through the city with regard to applying for grants either from the state or federal government? And with infrastructure, is money, the library money for library infrastructure, is that doled out based on grants, or do we have to, or does the city have to seek that out?
So the question about grants in general, we have this new grants analyst, management analyst for grants in the management services department. So part of her role, I think, is to make departments aware of possible grant opportunities that they may not be aware of on their own. But we obviously keep our eye out for grant opportunities in the library world. And there are many of them through the Institute for Museum and Library Services, which is federal funding, and through the state library, which is both state funding and also sometimes federal funding that trickles through the state library. So, you know, we see grant opportunities and decide to take advantage of them independently, but we obviously keep the management services folks in the loop about what we're applying for.
Is there a grant writer, or do we, okay.
Just staff, just who we are, which is what we, yeah. And then as far as the Building Forward opportunity, that is a competitive grant opportunity. It's a very, it's straight from the state budget, and it's a pretty narrow set of criteria that are eligible. It has to be for critical infrastructure and maintenance, and they're looking at the more poverty affected communities. So I think that we have a decent chance of receiving money, even though we're not the poorest of communities, because there's just such a big pot of money to go around. I suspect they're going to be challenged to even give it all away, just because it's a one-to-one match, and it's a lot of effort to put the application together. So we'll see, but that's what that grant is. It's a one-time opportunity that the state budget set aside this large sum of money.
Is it only matching funds?
It's one-to-one. So if we put together a preliminary proposal, and it came out to about $1.3 million. So that would mean if we were to actually propose all of those projects, that the state would give us the $650,000, and the city would have to come up with $650,000, which, like Sally said, is probably may not be possible. But we will see what's possible over the course of this budget cycle, and as the capital improvement plan, which is part of the budget cycle, gets looked at, and we try to look at where we can get funds to fund all these different things that are in the capital improvement program. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? I'm okay. Thank you, Kathy. It's a really good chart. So thank you very much. And then moving on to action item number 9, and that's in your packet statement. The adopt the Urban Libraries Council statement on race and social equity.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this and then show you the website that we just launched this week. The Urban Libraries Council is a membership organization. We are not a member. It's mostly the big urban libraries that pay the membership dues. They're very expensive, but they do have this statement on race and social equity, which is a big push in libraries right now is to look at our collections, look at the programs we do, and to make sure that our services are open and equal for all. And as part of that, we as a library eliminated overdue fines last January, well, not this January, the January before, to make our services, access to our services more equitable. And so many libraries have a diversity, inclusion, equity statement, and they develop those in a lot of different ways. But the Urban Libraries Council has this great statement that really can be used as the basis for your own efforts in this area. And we would like to sign on to the statement. And in our Southern California area, the Los Angeles Public Library is a signer, Santa Monica Public Library is a signer, Pasadena is a signer, and then the County of Los Angeles Public Library. And then around the country, there's hundreds of other libraries that have signed on to this statement. So we would like to ask you to take a look at it. And if you think that it's something we should sign on to, we would ask you to vote to do so. And then I wanted to mention this website. So we launched a website that's sort of our DEI website. We wanted to provide a place where people could go to get some resources and to learn about what the library is trying to do in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've done some staff training in the past year and a half and continue to do staff training on these topics. And Maida right now is working on a grant to the Tournament of Roses Foundation, which would give us hopefully funding to do an analysis of the collection to see where we might have gaps in the collection, and then to fill those gaps. But let me share my screen so I can show you our website quickly. So if you can see my screen, this website is under About the Library, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And we came up with a very, very pithy, short statement to kind of explain how we feel about this topic. It's pretty broad, but we all felt like we could sign on to this statement and really mean it, you know, that we're here to advance these issues, and that we do that by making information available to people. That's sort of that's the most basic view of it that you can get. So that's the sentence that we came up with. And then there's a section that talks about some of the things we've already done related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and some of the things that we hope to do in the future. And then our book lists, so reading lists for children, teens, and adults on a variety of kind of diversity, inclusion topics. And lastly, a section that includes some resources that put a lot of the issues in libraries in terms of, you know, books in libraries that are, you know, from 100 years ago that maybe have offensive language, or that are favorites from our childhood, but now in our day and age, they don't seem quite as appropriate. So there's some good articles here that help to talk about some of that. And our intent is just to give families and anybody who's interested some background so that they can have those conversations with their children or in their own families. So this website is here and for anyone to look at. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And I don't know if you had a chance to read the statement in your packet, but I'm wondering what you thought of it and whether you think it's a good idea for us to sign on to that statement. It's very, I mean, I think that it puts the bar very high in terms of what we would be saying we believe in and what we would be trying to do. But I think we're up to the challenge, and I think it's worth, you know, setting ourselves a high bar. I think that's okay.
So the action that you need from us tonight is to vote on South Pasadena Library being a signer.
Yes.
Okay.
I love this, Kathy. I love everything. I love the website and the intentionality behind it. I know for a lot of families that are choosing to raise their kids here. It's like everything you put on that website is exactly why. And I think it's the things that everyone hopes for from both the community services as well as the schools. So I just really appreciate the intentionality behind it. And, you know, I definitely want to leave room for discussion on the statement, but I would definitely be supportive of having a vote tonight to sign on to this. And would we be able to share this on the website too if we?
Yeah, we would add it, you know, add it to the list of things that we've done. We can also actually publish it on the website if we want.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's definitely aspirational. But I think that it's good to have those aspirations and keep it in the forefront of our mind, which has really been our intent. You know, in libraries, you know, there are things that we think of that are just, you know, the freedom to read. Everybody believes in the freedom to read, and that's just part of how that's part of library culture. We really want these diversity and inclusion issues to feel the same way, to just be part of what we do every day and not be something we really have to think about all the time, that they just come naturally. So it's definitely high aspirations, but I think it's important, and I think we need to continue to work toward it. And thankfully Maida is taking the lead and doing a fantastic job helping us achieve some of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I support the statement, and I think we should be approving it and putting it on the website. But interestingly, the statement you just showed on the website, I just thought the word empathy jumped out at me and just didn't think that was fit in that statement, even though it's not necessarily the thoughts that we're trying to convey are not, the word empathy is not inconsistent with that. But I didn't think it's on the same level of what the statement we're approving that's in the agenda packet. That doesn't come close to using the word like that. It's more of a being proactive. And I think empathy kind of indicates something else than being proactive, but that's just me. Maybe.
No, that's good feedback. And I think we crafted that based on a number of other libraries' statements. So it's kind of a Frankenstein of other library statements, and we kind of pulled the pieces that we felt we could, at this point in time, say this is what we're doing, and we believe that this is what we're doing. But we certainly can change it. We can remove it. We can, you know, we can have that conversation at another meeting and craft something different. Mm-hmm. That's fine. We can definitely put that on the agenda for a future meeting. And I think most libraries, you know, again, we wanted to have a statement. We kind of needed it for the Tournament of Roses grant. So we needed to have the website up. And so we put together that statement rather quickly. Normally we would have gone through a much longer deliberative, you know, iterative process to come up with a statement that we could all agree on. So that's something we can definitely do in the future.
Any other comments? Well, then do I hear a motion to approve of this statement that South Pasadena then will sign on as a signer of this statement? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, so moved. Yeah.
A second?
Move to approve it.
I'll second.
All right, so it's been moved and second to be a signer of the statement on race and social equity. So thank you. Oh, wait, roll call. Sorry, roll call.
Bianca Richards,
Yes.
Annie Chang Long,
Yes.
Kenneth Gross,
Yes.
FJ Pratt.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kathy and Maida, for bringing that up. Okay, moving along. Number 10, volunteer recognition event.
So I'll give a little background for the new board members. Every year, the Board of Trustees essentially hosts an event to recognize library volunteers, of which we have many, many, I don't know, I would say dozens at this point, Sally, right? That work in the bookstore and that are active members of the Friends doing, you know, giving 60. Yeah. Right. So it's an event that typically this group is very involved in, to the extent that someone signs up to bring the paper goods, and someone signs up to pick up the muffins, and someone signs up to do it. So I think that at the next meeting, I'll send an email, I think, between now and the next meeting that kind of outlines what needs to be done. And then at the next meeting, we can talk about how we want to allocate those activities. But the date that we had to move it, let's see, we talked about it last time and we realized it was too close to both Good Friday and I think Passover.
Yeah.
So I believe we've now moved it to the 7th, Thursday, April 7th. Is that right, Sean?
Yes.
Thank you. The open house was going to be that week, and now we've flipped it. So the open house is the following week, and the volunteer recognition luncheon is on the 7th. And I had typed up, we had done some brainstorming about what we could maybe do. Normally we do like a buffet lunch, but we didn't think that that was necessarily appropriate with COVID in mind.
Yeah.
So I think what staff is going to recommend that we do is sort of a mid-morning tea. And Sean and I are thinking it would be great if we had Rick Thomas come to speak about the 2 collections that we purchased from him. So the Busch Gardens collection and the Solar Motor Company collections. There's great visuals for that, and he has a lot of enthusiasm. I think that the volunteers would enjoy that if he's willing to do it. So I wanted to put that out there and see what you all thought of that idea. Or if you have other ideas for a speaker. I mean, typically, you know, we spend a lot of time thinking about the speaker and trying to get a speaker, but I feel like we're sort of easing back into this in-person event that I don't want to get some big name person and then we cancel, or I don't know, because that's what happened, you know, we canceled in 2020.
Right.
So I thought having someone local like that would be perfect, and that people would really enjoy learning more about those materials that are in the library's collection.
It seems like a good fit, because they're getting into our collection, and Rick's local. A lot of people know him and have heard him speak before.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that it sounds good.
Okay, then staff will,
Yeah.
if everyone is okay with that, and if anyone's not okay, let us know. But if everyone's okay with that, we will reach out to Rick and see what his availability is.
Okay.
Right.
You bought photographs from him. Is that what?
We bought 2 collections. One is the Solar Motor Company, which is the early solar generation project that was on the site of the ostrich farm. And the Busch Gardens collection, which was a entertainment garden in the Arroyo, but it was in Pasadena, but it was just right up the road here in the Arroyo. So it's the collection is a variety of stuff, a lot of postcards, some photographs, brochures. Olivia has digitized some of it, but not all of it. So she'll pick out the good stuff to digitize so that he can show those pictures.
And are we thinking the community room
Yeah.
at this time? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I'm feeling okay about doing it indoors. Yeah.
And then Sally, what you and I were talking about is just really light refreshments, so people could do more socializing as opposed to sitting down and eating, which might make some people feel uncomfortable.
Well, Kathy, didn't you say you couldn't walk around with?
Yeah, well, I have to look at the latest guidelines. If the guidelines haven't changed, yes, you're not supposed to be eating and walking around. You're supposed to sit in one place. So, but still, people would have more time to walk around and visit because the eating would be lesser. I mean, if they're just eating a pastry and having a cup of coffee, it'll be, easier, and then they can put their masks back on and move around. And I think too, if they're going to be listening to a speaker, they can be nibbling and listening to the speaker at the same time. Okay, well, great. Then we'll reach out to Rick and see how that goes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Number 11, the library operations update. Kathy.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. One is a follow-up from last month. A question was asked about why our FICA Medicare was 74% expended so early in the fiscal year. And finance said that they made a mistake in the budget. They don't know why they made the mistake, but it was just too low. So as part of the mid-year budget adjustments, they will be increasing that line item, so we will not be overspent. And then I guess we already talked about all of the issues related to the trustees and the committee for the parcel tax, so I'll skip that. A quick update on staffing. We're still short-staffed, which is why we still haven't gone back to our regular hours, but we are getting closer. We had eight interviews early January. We had 4 people on the eligibility list. We made 2 offers, 1 declined. We went back to the eligibility list. And so those 2 people are in the pipeline. They're getting their background checks done. And then we just had another aide who has actually not been working since November. She has some family health issue that she's been dealing with. She just resigned. So now we're filling that position from that list. The clerks, which is a promotional opportunity, those interviews are next week. As soon as those interviews happen and those promotions are processed, we're going to have to open another aide recruitment because we don't have anybody on that eligibility list. So, because we'll have 2 aide positions to fill once those aides get promoted to clerks. The weekend in charge librarians, which is the idea behind that, is to have someone who can help us on Sundays. Those people were interviewed December 14th. The eligibility list was brought back to the department on January 11th. And those people have been offered the job and they're going through their background checks. So hopefully they're going to be on board soon. And then MEDA started 4 new substitute librarians this month. So that's great. Those folks are starting to get trained. So that's that. I wanted to mention that community services is going to be using the community room for senior yoga and Tai Chi 3 mornings a week. So that's nice. That's, was a tradition that we did and it's been 2 years. So they're feeling comfortable and confident about bringing that back. So that'll be happening 3 mornings a week. As you know, this month library programming, in-person programming was suspended for January and February. We've been giving away take and make craft kits every Thursday this month because we can't do the in-person crafting. And we're in the middle of the bookmark design contest, which Maida mentioned. Storytime will resume in person in March. We will be doing it outdoors like we did in the fall. But we will be using the community room as a backup space if we need to move indoors because of the weather. The Eclectic Festival is April 30th, the music festival, and Maida and I have been working on our lineup for the Carnegie stage. We're actually going to do, instead of doing the concert indoors, we're going to do it, put the band on kind of the platform that's out in front of the community room. So people will be able to attend, sit on the grass, get food from the food trucks and just sort of be kind of coming and going as they wish. We've reached out to the USC Taiko drumming group and they have said they're available. So we'll start with them. And we've reached out to the high school jazz band to take the second shift. And then our big band is a kind of a modern bluegrass band called the Other Mother Brother Band. We're pretty sure we have them, but we haven't finished the contract yet, but we have a backup in case that one falls through. So that's the lineup that we're planning for the library. We talked about the DEI webpage and the Tournament of Roses grant. I did want to mention, we had talked previously about Olivia getting a South Pasadena High School intern to help digitize the materials that were discovered at the school district. We did not get an intern. It's competitive. So the interns apply for what they want to apply for. And if they don't want the job, you just don't get anyone. So we didn't get anyone, but I think Olivia has plans to do some of the start digitizing it herself. Memory Lab, for those new folks who don't know, Olivia applied for a grant and got a grant in the amount of $12,201 for a memory lab. And that is equipment that allows the public to digitize their analog memories, so their VHS tapes and their cassette tapes and their slides and their photos. And we'll be taking a staff report to City Council on March 2nd to recommend that they authorize the acceptance of the award and the execution of the agreement. So once that's done, we'll be able to begin moving forward with the Memory Lab program. And then we already mentioned Building Forward, and I can't remember, I told you that they're splitting. So the Building Forward deadline, the money is being split into 2 rounds, which is great for us because the first deadline is March 21st, which is way too soon for us to be able to participate. So the second round will be about 12 months from now. So by then we should know how much money the city has to be able to match whatever it is that we apply for. So we won't be applying for that anytime in the next, it'll be 12 months from now that we apply for that, if we apply for that. And that's it for library operations updates.
Great, thank you. And then the last one, the appointment of a committee to participate in strategic planning consultant selection.
Yeah, I thought that it would be nice if we could have 2 of you to participate in reviewing the proposals from strategic planning consultants. So Maida, Barb, and I will be reviewing those and scoring them. And it'd be nice if anyone from this group is interested. If there's 2 of you interested, then we can make a committee. If there's only 1 person interested, maybe we forego the committee and you just volunteer to do it. But I guess the question is who is interested, and that we can go from there. I'm expecting, I don't know, it's probably not a huge job. I mean, I'm hopeful that we get maybe 5 applications, and we'll have a scoring rubric for you to use, and then we'll have discussions, obviously, to talk about them together. So if anyone's interested in participating, we can make a committee for that, or if not very many people are interested and there's only maybe 1 person, that person can just volunteer and we don't need a committee.
I know Dean's not here. He hasn't logged. Do we know if Dean he
hasn't expressed an interest, but I would think he might be interested in that.
I know I would be interested, but if somebody other than me wanted to do it, I'm okay. But if because I wasn't too sure if Dean wanted to do it, but I would be interested in being.
Okay.
I'd be interested too, but I'm also okay foregoing it, also depending on the timing that you need, like responses back, Kathy.
Right.
Like when you're looking at reviewing it too.
So the timeline is that the proposals are due from the consultants on February 22nd, and we would be reviewing and scoring over the next 2 weeks, basically. So from February 23rd, not even is it a full 2 weeks? From February 23rd to like March 7th, approximately, because then we're going to be talking about at the board meeting on the 10th of March, talking about the recommendation that we have for who to select. So that's the timeline. It would be those kind of the last week of February and the first week of March.
Well, shall we reach out to Dean?
I suppose so, yeah.
If Dean really wants to do it and Annie, then I can decline, but if Dean doesn't want to do it, then Annie and I can do it.
Diana, do we need to have a committee for them to participate if there are 2, or can they just do it with us?
It would be better to have the board make a motion and approve the formation of the ad hoc committee. But I think, one option is to text Dean right now. If I know he was traveling this week, I don't know if he is in a plane or otherwise available by text, but that would be the first thing I would recommend. Maybe go to the communications and then return to this. I think you could go ahead and set up the committee as you have described it conditionally, but it would be better to have a final motion. So I recommend texting Dean right now.
Sean, can you text Dean and ask him if he is interested in being on an ad hoc committee to review the strategic planning consultant proposals?
I'm on it.
Okay, thanks, Sean. And then, so then we'll just kind of put that on hold and then we'll come back to it if Dean gets back to us tonight.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, and then for the new trustee members, this next section, communications, this is a chance just for each one of us to make a comment about anything that you want to make a comment about in the communications. So I'll start, and I just wanted to say welcome to the new commissioners, and I look forward to getting to know you guys more and working with you. So thank you. And then I just go around the room and just call on people. So Annie, how about you?
Don't have anything particular to share. So just welcome to Kenneth and FJ.
And then, so Dean, yeah, so Dean's not here. So Ken, would you like to add anything?
Nothing that in particular that I hadn't mentioned, but just looking forward to getting my feet wet and because of what we actually do and how I can help. So look forward to it.
Thank you. And well, I'm sorry, Fred. It's FJ.
FJ, yes.
FJ. So FJ. Any comments?
No, yeah, like Ken says, I've got my I'm dipping my feet into the pool and getting used to all this. So I'm trying to take in as much as possible, and I'm already grateful for Sean's notes that were going to come from the minutes that come from this meeting. But yeah, I'm all, I want to make sure that when I speak up, I have something to say. So I'm listening and I'm taking it all in.
Thank you.
Sure.
Then we'll move on to Diana Mahmood, our council liaison.
Okay, I have a couple of items. One is I'm so pleased to see, number one, Kathy, that you found the National Library statement on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that before the city even did anything officially, that you went ahead and posted it on the city's website. Last week, the city passed a reso that acknowledged our legacy, our history as a sundown town, and we apologized for that. And we pledged to take affirmative action to address DEI issues. And so this will probably be the first official action, the one that you took tonight in furtherance of that reso. So thank you for giving us something concrete. And you're absolutely right. The library should be leading the charge because of the access, because of the importance and prominence of the library in our community. So I'm so pleased to see that happen. With regard to staffing, I know it is a perennial issue, unfortunately, that's discussed at trustees. I will mention this afternoon, I attended a meeting at the San Gabriel Valley Cog Transportation Commission where we received a briefing from Metro staff, and they are suffering pretty severe staffing issues to the extent that effective a week from this Sunday, they are increasing service intervals on all existing bus lines and even on light rail, such that for our own Gold Line, instead of operating in 8-minute service intervals, that's going to increase to 10. So we are certainly not alone. It is the staffing problems are being experienced just throughout not only our region, but I think throughout the country as well. But still, I want to help in any way that I can in the upcoming budget cycle. With regard to Olivia and not getting an intern for the digitizing, I'm wondering what you would think about maybe approaching the high school and offering service hours for SPHS students. I don't know if that's something that might be considered also. And this is a bit further out of league, but the would-be debutantes from National Charity League, I know, used to assist us with Be Kind to Animals. So they've got to do, they also have X amount of service hours. And that might be another potential source of free labor for the digitization. And then just finally, welcome to our new trustees. So, Mr. Gross, on your name, you are identified as Kenneth. Do you prefer Ken or Kenneth, or don't care?
Is good. Most of my friends call me Kenny. So
Kenny? Very good. Kenny it is.
I was named after a spin for the Louis Cardinals. I'll be in the 4th and 50 Boyer. So that's where that came. So Kenny is good.
Oh, no kidding. My daughter went to Bryn Mawr. Whereabouts in Philadelphia are you?
I was born, well, right now, in a town called Druck, which is outside of Philadelphia, Dublin Township. You know those areas. I was born in Philadelphia called Mount Ayr.
Very good. Well, welcome. We're so pleased to see you both.
Thank you.
And Sally from the Friends. Sally, Ellen's not with us yet, is she?
No.
She's not going to join us.
Okay, all right. So Sally from the
Yeah,
Friends.
Welcome to new trustees. This is a great organization, the board, and I'm glad that we can't be terminated because I know some of the other commissions may be cut out. And we're so happy to have Diana as our council liaison. She's been very helpful. I think I said everything at the beginning, but I was just wondering when you might appoint a liaison to the Friends.
I would think maybe next meeting when we do the officers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Now I know Dean attended the last Friends meeting, right? So
Yes.
yeah, and then Kenny and Fred, FJ, sorry, FJ. Usually what happens is one of us then is the liaison to the Friends, and then we go to the Friends meetings, and then we just kind of help to bridge that gap between the Board of Trustees and the Friends. So at the next month's meeting, you know, just to help us out, Kathy, remind me again, it's president, and then
secretary, Sean,
And vice president.
and vice president.
and then the liaison. So there's four things that we, okay.
Yeah.
So we can just start thinking about that. Okay. So I'm assuming then Sally, Dean will probably just report it for the minute to put it into the minutes for next.
Yes.
Yeah, what he did. Okay. Yeah, because he attended the meeting last.
He did.
Yeah.
Can you remind us when the meetings are, Sally, for the Friends?
The third Thursday at 1 p.m. But we are going to be considering changing the time to either have alternating evening and daytime, or switching totally to the evening because of people's work schedules.
Sally, are you guys thinking of doing any kind of hybrid so that someone could call in?
Oh yes. Yeah, I mean, we're doing Zoom now, but Ellen said if we're going to do that on a regular basis, she would want to buy the equipment that makes it, you know, better than just having a laptop there and, you know, turning it around, and
Right.
kind of you know, not ideal if you're going to be doing a hybrid on a continuing basis.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then back to you, Kathy, library director.
I also just want to welcome the new trustees and reiterate that any questions you have, anything you need more information about, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk through any of these issues that seem complicated and there's a whole backstory. I'm happy to to try to help you understand. And if you have questions about the trustee handbook that we sent or suggestions for that handbook that would make it more useful, please do let us know so that we can make those edits. And that's all I have.
Right. Any last?
Well, let's see, Sean, did you hear from
Sean.
Jean?
I have not.
I think we should just go ahead. I mean, I think we should go ahead and call for a motion to make an ad hoc committee with Annie and Bianca. And that's fine. Dean will be okay.
Okay. So do I have then a motion to?
I don't even know. You know what? I was looking at the bylaws, Bianca. I think you can just appoint. I don't think you.
Yeah, I don't think we have to vote on it. Yeah. So Annie, are you still interested then? Okay. All right. Well, then Annie and I will then be on the ad hoc committee to participate in the strategic planning consultant selection.
Great.
Good. All right.
Thank you for being willing to do that. That'll be helpful.
Yeah. Again, then any other last comments, questions? Wow. We did good. Then I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:32 and thank you, everybody. Yeah, we did pretty good. Kenny and FJ, we did pretty good. Usually our meetings go a little bit longer, so.
Okay.
Good for us tonight. All right, well, thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good night.
Everybody,
Yeah.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you.